Have you ever stared down a six-figure tax bill and wondered how on earth you were going to pay it? And were you also wondering, why did no one ever tell you this was coming? Well, guess what? I have. And if you're a high income earner and you're trying to break into real estate and you already have your foot in the door, chances are you have felt the sting of taxes eating up your income. But what if you could flip that equation? What if the same tax system could actually fuel your wealth? You're listening to the Main Street Patriot Podcast, soon to be the Done For You Real Estate Podcast, where we believe wealth is built by keeping more of what you earn. My name is Jimmy Vreeland. I'm your host and real estate entrepreneur who has learned a lot of lessons in real estate, mostly the hard way. And I've also learned how to navigate the world of taxes, assets, and wealth creation by using real estate. And with me, as always, is my producer, Jake. He's here to ask the questions you're probably thinking and keep me on track. So today on the show, we're asking this question. What does the Trump era bonus depreciation revival mean for real estate investors, and how can you use it to your advantage? And we're not bringing on a policy wonk or a CPA. Instead, you're going to hear from me, someone who has lived through using this tax strategy, and I leveraged it to erase a $200,000 debt I had to the IRS. So join us for the show today, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello, and welcome back to the Main Street Patriot Podcast, soon to be the Done For You Real Estate Podcast. So got a very interesting, very exciting, somewhat misunderstood topic today, but happened last night. We're recording this on the 23rd. Should be out by what? 26th, 27th, Jake?
That's right.
And so here's the deal. Trump's big, bold, beautiful tax bill is going to pass, it looks like. The Senate's going to pass it, and it's a big bill. Sounds like it's a bold. And so I'm just a real estate guy. I'm not going to talk about the political ramifications. I'm not going to talk about the debt. I'm not going to talk about the revenue it may bring in. What I'm going to talk about is how it's going to affect the real estate market and how it's going to affect people who invest in real estate. And I'm going to really draw out how it's going to affect high income earners who want to invest in a passive manner, because this is a bombshell. This is going to be huge. So welcome to the Main Street Patriot Podcast once again, that we're now going to call the Done For You Real Estate Podcast. We just haven't done all the work to do all the marketing and all the pictures and all the stuff. With me as always, my producer, Jake. Jake, how you doing today?
Great, man. Great, man. Good to be here with you this morning.
Are you excited to hear about the big, bold, beautiful bill?
I am, yeah. I have just passed last night. I haven't been able to dig into it, like you said, but I'm excited to hear what it means for real estate and for people trying to build a business.
Nice. So here's where I'm going to start the podcast. I'm going to tell a story. So here's the greatest part about these tax cuts is we already have data, and we already lived it for 4 to 5 years, because Trump's first term, he did this. And so I executed this strategy back in 2019. But I think the first time he did this was in 2017, and he did a bunch of tax cuts, and a huge one for business owners who own capital equipment and real estate investors is that you can take 100% bonus depreciation year one. So now 2018, I first started flipping houses, and I didn't understand the tax code because I used to be an employee, and your taxes just got paid for you magically. And then sure, I was angry every time I had to pay taxes. So I was like, hey, I'll start a business and I'll have tax advantages. And wow, was I wrong? We're going to get into how I was wrong. I wasn't wrong. My effective tax rate is much lower now than when I was a W-2, but I have to work and I have to pay other people a bunch of money to get that effective low tax rate. I thought it was like magical. And like the reason it's easy to pay your taxes as a W-2 is because there's an HR department who withholds it all for you. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have that. Guess who the HR department is when you own the business?
It's
you. And you're like, wait a minute, dude, I don't have any HR experience. Anyway, let's get into the story. So 2018, I had my first really solid, really good year of flipping. And I didn't understand the tax code. I was taking flipping profits and using that money to rehab houses. So I was not doing a tax set aside. And I had all my tax money in the walls of houses. And so I get my tax bill from my accountant, and it's $200,000. I look at the bank account, I'm like, cool. Do I have $200,000? I didn't. And so can you imagine the fear? Now, I was a young business
They're coming for it all, is what I would feel like.
I mean, I was completely defeated. I was completely like, head in my hands, like, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
And this is the story of how I got through this.
Nice. Okay.
So after I got over my poopy pants and was like, oh my God, I'm the dumbest person, the worst person ever, worst business owner ever, I was like, okay, cool. Let's start solving some problems here. Luckily, I talked to my tax advisor,
And he was like, well, Jimmy, you still have 100 rentals and you've taken no depreciation from that. I was like, oh, okay, cool. What's that mean?
Yeah.
And well, so here's what depreciation is. When the tax code was created, by the way, the tax code wasn't created until 1913. So there was a time of freedom and prosperity with no income tax where the country grew. So side point, it wasn't created until 1913. And so as they're creating it, they're figuring out all the farmers and factory owners are saying, look, here's my profit and loss statement, but I have to reinvest into my factories, into my farm equipment because those assets are depreciating. Does that make sense? Like you got a tractor, the tractor, like you buy a new car, the car loses half its value or something like that right as you drive it off the lot.
Right.
Same thing with a tractor, same thing with factory equipment. And so the IRS was like, oh, wow, if we pinch all our business owners and farmers, no, we're not going to have food and we're not going to have anything. So we got to give these guys a concession.
Yeah.
So what they did is they created depreciation schedules for different assets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how fast. I think a car depreciates in 5 years. I think a tractor is probably the same. Oh, wait, I forgot to start this podcast with the disclaimer. I am not a tax expert. Do not take tax advice from me. No one should listen to this podcast unless you don't want advice from an expert and you want advice from someone who's actually used the strategies to benefit themselves. Like, I don't care to be an expert in anything. I just care to benefit from the strategies.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
So back in the day, the factory owners and the farmers were like, well, you got to give us a concession for depreciation. So factory equipment depreciates at a certain time frame. A car depreciates in 5 years. I imagine a tractor's 5 years. Inside a house, this is interesting. A house, the IRS looks at a house and says, hey, 20% of the value of the house is the land. Cool. So now let's say, for simple numbers, you have a $200,000 house. The IRS says, hey, that is a $160,000 asset. 40 grand is land. The house is $160,000. And that house is going to depreciate over the next 27 and a half years. So you take 100, I don't have my phone on me, but you take 100, actually, throw me my phone. We'll just do the math. Do math verbally. Put in the comments if we should stop doing math verbally. But then there's some high detail people who want to see it. So I'm going to go fast. 160,000 divided by 27 and a half. It's 5,800. So 58, a deduction of 5,800, not that big a deal, but it does add up over 27 and a half years, right?
Yeah.
And so here is what the Trump tax bill does well, let me step back a second. So before the Trump tax bill, it's like, oh man, 27 and a half years, that's not that exciting. But you could do a cost seg study, and the IRS says like floors, carpets, cabinets, countertops, bathrooms depreciate on a 7-year schedule. So back in the day, you had to have some adjuster come by and go through each little item in a house and say, this is on the 7-year schedule, this is on the 15-year schedule, this is on 27 and a half year schedule. So let's say you have $30,000 in what I said is on a 7-year. You divide that by 7, that's 4,200. So that's an additional 4,200 of a write-off. So now you're getting close to 10 grand. You're starting to see something interesting.
Yeah.
So as Trump tends to do, he just blows all of it out of the water. And here's what he's done. He's saying all the real estate is on a year 1 depreciation schedule. You can take all the depreciation year 1.
Wow. So is it like a one-time upfront, but that's it? Like once you do it, then.
But the IRS is not a immediate gratification type of business.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait 27 and a half years. And that tax savings over 27 and a half years is significant, but you got to wait.
Right, right.
Trump has just blown it out of the water and said, no, you get it all year 1.
Yeah.
So where IRS is generally not an immediate gratification type entity,
right,
it now is. For certain people. Right now, it's for real estate professionals.
Sure.
And so this is why the lesson to learn is, so a W-2 employee is going to be like, well, wait a minute, I'm not considered a real estate professional. I can't take my depreciation this year.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a story of why that doesn't matter. This depreciation builds up as like a tax savings account. And so I had owned these rentals. In 2018, I had owned the majority of those rentals for 3 or 4 years. And so I owed the IRS 200 grand.
Mm-hmm.
My accountant was like, wait a minute. All right, let's throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And then the Trump tax cuts of 2017 had just gone in. He's like, you haven't captured your bonus depreciation yet. And so what did? We did a cost seg study on 100 houses.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bunch of depreciation.
Mhm.
And like, it was almost magical. Guess how much it saved me in taxes?
200,000.
$200,000. So it got me to par
Yeah.
with the
yeah.
IRS.
Wow.
Now, I still had to learn to save for taxes. But it bailed me out.
Yeah.
So let's say you're a W-2 and you're like, this isn't that compelling. I can't have it this year. Well, as you're becoming more productive, as you're becoming more wealthy, your tax burden's only growing,
Mm-hmm.
and your assets will start growing and your passive income will start growing, so that when you need an ace in the hole for your taxes, you pull on this.
Yeah.
And I got to do some more homework, but I believe this is making that 1 year bonus depreciation, I believe it is making it permanent. I got to look.
Wow.
So what is this going to do?
It's not just like a one-time bonus. It's hey, if you're a real estate professional, you get to claim this year one.
No, so this is for everybody. You get to claim. So I had a buddy who's a high net worth individual. He bought a tree cutting company because he didn't want to cut trees, but he wanted to buy the trucks. So he could take the bonus depreciation off his tax savings off his other business. And so what is this going to do to the economy? Is people who knows what are happening, they are going to buy assets.
Yeah.
And they're not going to care about the interest rates. So they're going to buy capital equipment, they're going to buy houses, they're going to buy real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're listening to this podcast, you're only going to start seeing the results of this 2 to 3 years from now when people start talking about it. I'm here now be like, because like this happened in 2016. I wasn't wise till it's like 2018, 2019.
Right. And luckily your accountant knew what to do.
Yeah. If I could go back in time, I'd want to be wise to it. So what do I feel like as I wake up this morning?
Pretty excited.
I'm wise to it. I know what's going to happen.
And
I'm going to get in on it. And so that's what listeners of the podcast, that's all I'm recommending. So here's the next thing that's going to happen. You're going to be a W-2 or you're going to not be a real estate professional, and you're a short-minded accountant who all he wants to do is really just sign. I love accountants. He just wants to sign your tax account and be done with you. Is going to say, no, you're not a real estate professional. That doesn't work. That is not true. I am not going to give the specifics. I hand you off to 2 tax advisors I work with because they are tax experts and you shouldn't be taking tax advice from me. But there is a way that you can retire a spouse, take them out of the job market, have them be your portfolio manager for owning as little as 5 rental properties, and then you are a real estate professional. And so I just got a text from my boy, Derek Shannonhouse. He's a listener of the podcast. What's up, Derek? Thanks for sending this text. So Derek's a highly successful individual. He does something in business. I don't quite remember what. But his wife used to be in real estate, his wife used to be in medical sales, just like I was.
Yeah.
And, she was a high income earner in medical sales, and they got 2 kids. And me and Susie went through the same thing. Like when we went through the math of Susie making like 150 to 200 grand, and we did the math of taxes, because she bumped me into a higher tax bracket, or us into a higher tax bracket, the daycare, and just the running around that it would cause. Like we were netting like 30 grand on her on 150 and sacrificing a ton.
120.
Yeah.
Wow. So
the Shannon houses are going through the same thing. It's like, hey, if you become a real estate professional, we kind of net out the same place and we have a better quality of life. So just let me read you this text he sent me. Great podcast on single family versus syndication. Thanks, Derek. That was a great podcast, Jake. Great work.
Yeah.
Just listen to it. Glad you, our podcast coach guy says we can't talk about previous podcasts. I just broke a rule. Oops.
Nah, it's all good.
Glad you hit on the point about the professional real estate status at the end. That's such a game changer. I feel like once people build enough of a portfolio to qualify for that not bad if they want to branch out and do some syndications, but they have to have this single family foundation first. That's what Derek's done. Mm-hmm. He bought 14 assets, got his real estate professional qualification, and now he has more capital to deploy. So he's at that point where the 4 pillars are working for him. Yeah. So he wants to throw cash into the game faster. So that's why he's doing syndications with his single families.
Okay.
So coincidentally, I just got my 2024 tax refund today as a result of my real estate professional status. I got a $32K refund on my W-2 withholding. He paid $7K in federal taxes for 2024. This dude makes like $600 grand a year. And without real estate, I would have had owed $70K. Very funny. Looking for 2025 tax planning. I should bring in $800 to $900K and will likely owe $10,000 total. So I don't know the exact math. I don't know the exact tax code. I refer people who do know that. I don't know the X's and O's exactly how I do it for you detail-oriented people listening to the podcast, but it exists and the strategy exists, and that's why you pay a tax planner to do all of this for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so this just hit steroids last night.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about this.
And so before that, the 2017 tax bonus depreciation, that was specifically for real estate professionals. But now this
It's for everybody.
That's for everybody.
Anybody who owned capital equipment.
Oh, okay.
So back when I was talking about farmers
Yeah.
farmers and factory owners and my buddy who owned a tree company.
Right.
Any small business owner with capital equipment.
Wow.
So I might go get another truck,
Yeah.
wrap it for our business, take the bonus depreciation, even more tax savings. So this is some of the algebra I'm going to have to start doing as a business owner.
Right.
But it might make sense to buy a fleet of trucks for my sales guys and have it all wrapped with I buy STL stuff driving around town.
Boom.
So different options are coming up, and like this is your opportunity to kind of get ahead of it.
Yeah. So without like speculating too much on like politics, etc., it seems like the goal is that business owners not be afraid to build their business.
Well, remember, my conspiracy of this country, greatest country on earth, greatest economy on earth, created the most physical prosperity ever in human history, is that it's a country founded by real estate people for real estate people.
Right.
Real estate investors for real estate investors. You know, I hate this book. Hate it. It's Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States.
Okay.
Have you ever read it?
I haven't read that one.
It's some like hippie, socialist, Marxist dialogue.
Okay.
Where it's just like, we're the evil empire. It's disgustingly bad history. I think if I would have the time, I would write as much of a propaganda speech as Howard Zinn for a real estate investor's history of the United States. I might just do that.
I think you should.
It's going to be cold weather. I'm not going to be on the boat. I'm going this afternoon, but I got time.
Okay.
I might just whip up. I mean, this book is so bad as a propaganda piece. But I got to think, can I bet you I could make a pretty compelling argument. It wouldn't be that propaganda to say that this country, and then look at it. The leader of the free world right now is a real estate investor.
Right.
Do you think he's going to try to create a world that benefits real estate investors?
For sure. I mean,
I just got to get in the game.
Well, or at the very least, like, because he did it and he understands how the game was working, he knows what tools to deploy, so to speak, to further that.
He said in 2016, in the debates, Hillary was calling him out because she's like, he doesn't pay any federal taxes. And he's like, I know, like, that makes me smart. He's like, you created the rules, you created the laws, and I am just living by them.
Right.
And by the way, Republicans and Democrats, doesn't matter. They all want, now the benevolent, do you want me to go conspiracy theory or do you want me to go benevolent?
Let's hear
Do
both.
you want me the best light or do you want me to look in the worst light?
Let's hear both.
Okay. The people in power are definitely wealthy and they need to store their assets somewhere. So they're going to store it probably in real estate and they're going to create a system that benefits themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. That's the dark light.
Right.
Here's the best light. Politicians want safe, clean housing for the citizens of the country.
Yeah.
And so they're going to incentivize people to provide that housing for them.
Sure.
And if you're watching the news, both parties are also talking about the major housing shortage, and neither party has an acceptable plan to solve it.
To solve it, right. Yeah, I just saw a stat that like 75% of households can't afford the available housing that's out there.
Yeah.
And so we need something like 400,000.
Probably more than that. I bet you we need a million assets built.
Okay.
Because everybody got hammered in 2008.
Yeah.
All the home builders got hammered and then they took a break for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like, that is just generational. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I just do know that the government will give me 20 loans to buy 20 of these assets for me to get in the game.
Right.
And then I do have to riff a little bit about, interest rates are high, deals won't pencil. What does penciling mean? Penciling means your year one cash flow is something like, so you can quit your job. Like, it doesn't happen. It doesn't exist, but this can create a ton of wealth. Because when I actually ask people about this, what would you rather do? What do you think creates people's wealth faster? Cutting your taxes significantly are getting $200 to $300 per door on cash flow. What do you think grows wealth faster?
Well, we've talked about this obviously, but that is definitely the tax savings,
Yes.
especially if you're already a high income earner.
Yeah. So all the people who are high income earners don't have a cash flow problem. They shouldn't be investing for cash flow. They should be investing to keep more of what they earn, and they should be investing to protect what they have from inflation.
Right. Right.
Like, I'm getting very curt whenever I have an investor talk about their maintenance costs. Like,
Mhm.
who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have people I've sold 20 houses to. I show them the math,
Mm-hmm.
and their maintenance cost is significant, or it's insignificant.
Yeah.
To the total return.
Right. Right. You can make $1 million and maybe they have,
$50,000
10%
in
capex.
Yeah, 50. I was talking to a buddy of mine, like, he's made $1 million with me, and he's like, Jimmy, these make-ready costs are too expensive. And I was like, you're up 7 figures in 5 years. I don't want to hear about it. Like, going rate for a make-ready right now is $5,000. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, by the way, with the housing shortage, we also have a labor shortage.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you get people out to do that? And it's like, and I've just found when you just tell people how it is, they accept it.
Yeah.
And when a tenant moves out and you have to put $5,000 into a house, we should probably do a podcast on this. It's not a cost; it's a reinvestment.
Mm-hmm.
And then generally, the rent gets bumped to such a manner that you're getting a 20% return on that cash.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, where else would you put that money to get a 20% return?
That pencils to me.
Yeah. And so I am on a one-man mission to talk to people about what actually pencils.
Yeah.
I did a webinar last night, and some guy kept asking me about cap rate. I'm like, cap rate does not include tax benefits and appreciation. Like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And you should not be looking for that. You should not be investing in that. Cap rate is a reflection of cash flow. You're a high income earner. You already have cash flow. If you want cash flow, flip a house.
Yeah. So for somebody that hasn't like penciled a deal before, just like maybe they started, getting interest in real estate, they're listening to some podcast, they found the Main Street Patriot, like just walk them through like when you say pencil and why they're not going to pencil based on what the gurus are teaching out there.
Well, so the standard thing was like, oh, you got to get 10% cash on cash return year one. And so if your if your investment is $50,000, that means you need to get $5,000 back that year. 5,000 divided by 12 is like 400 something. You're making $200,000-$300,000 a year. Who cares about your $400 a month?
Mm-hmm.
And so what you need how you would analyze a deal is you do want the cash flow. You don't want to be feeding the meter. You want it to be cash flow positive. So that means for me, any deal pencils for me personally between 0 and 5% cash on cash return.
Yeah.
Because what I'm looking for is I want a $200,000 house that's going to appreciate 5% a year. I'm going to get $10,000 in appreciation year one. Plus, let's run these numbers. Okay, this $200,000 house. I probably need to buy a $200,000 house today. Anyway, so we just talked about it, $160,000. The IRS looks at it as $160,000, and I can depreciate that year one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on this. I'm doing this as a podcast, but I believe, let me do the math on this, but the way for every $100,000 of real estate, and I apologize to the listeners, I will do some homework and I'll put it on Instagram. But for every $100,000 of real estate I borrow to buy, I get $12,000 in savings.
Wow.
So I can pay cash with that real estate, or I can borrow that money. Either way, I get a $12,000 savings.
Wow.
So you do a $200,000 BRRRR key, and you get most of your cash out of that, and you're getting paid year one to own that asset.
Right. And then the idea of it getting 5% cash on cash is it's going to pay for itself. It's going to pay for the tenant's going to pay for the mortgage. Yeah.
Tenant's going to pay for the mortgage, pay for the maintenance, all that stuff. If I don't get to extract $200 a month, I don't care. We're talking about a rounding error.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What I want is the tax savings, so I keep more of what I've already earned. I want to beat inflation, and I want to use other people's money to do it.
Right. It's like you're driving a car and at the destination is,
So
like,
I did a
you know-
personality test called the
Okay.
PI,
okay.
and so I'm
Yeah,
designated.
predictive index.
Yeah, predictive index. I'm designated as a captain.
Yeah.
And so I have a high drive. I want to be outrunning. I want to be going. And my need for data to make a decision is at the other end of the spectrum. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
This could come from being Catholic. I just need a principle.
Right.
I just need a heuristic. And then I use
Yeah.
data to say, hey, am I on track with this principle?
Right. Yeah, where I was going with that analogy is like, hey, like you're like going to buy a car, for example, like it's a great vehicle, but you're like, what does it have? Like change in the seats?
Right. Exactly.
Like, I want to know if it has change in the seats so I can like.
So my father-in-law, he retired military.
Yeah.
And he could shop at the PX.
Okay.
And the PX, you don't pay taxes on it. That's
Yeah.
like a veteran's benefit.
Yeah.
And then somehow my mom, because me and my brother got the same benefits.
Okay.
But the closest Air Force base for my father-in-law and my mother, it was like 45, 50 minutes. So
Yeah.
whatever they saved in taxes, one, they lost in time, and two, they lost
The gas?
probably in gas money. But they didn't do that math. They just saw the instant savings.
Right.
And so that's what I think is the cognitive disconnect with the cash flow. They see the instant $200,000, or sorry, $200 a month, and they're
Mhm.
not looking behind of
Mhm.
everything else
Mhm.
that's going on.
Nice. Cool.
So I feel like we put a nail in that coffin. We beat this dead horse.
Well, what's going to be cool, obviously, is see how, over time how people put this into action. And I think, like you said, unless you listen to this podcast, you may not be out there taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I'm just going to summarize it real quick. So here's what other people are going to be saying it. Your tax advisor is going to be saying you're not a real estate professional. This doesn't affect you. That's not true. Because houses I bought in 2005, 2006, I still did cost seg on those. I'm talking I hadn't done cost segs for 10 years. And that helped me overcome my IRS.
And you weren't
that
real estate
when
professional
I was
at
a
that.
W-2.
Yeah, right.
And so all the benefits from owning assets, you don't get the benefits right away. You got to own the asset.
Mm-hmm.
Tax policies and low interest rate environments only help people with a bunch of assets. So it's a chicken before the egg question. Like the first thing you got to do is you have to get the assets. And don't let a tenant moving out. Don't let some change order affect you.
Yeah.
Like it sucks, but keep going.
So does it make a difference if I have no idea for this question, but it's sort of thinking of a scenario where you bought an asset from somebody that already took 27-year depreciation in year one?
All the time.
Does that affect you as like the new purchaser? No.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why tired landlord deals exist.
Right.
So I'm 45 right now. I'm assuming 15 years from now, I'm going to be looking at, hey, did I take all my depreciation from my Trump tax cuts 15 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if I can't get any more juice out of that tax wise, I'll probably sell the house and do a 1031 and not pay taxes on it. And then you do the 1031 and you reinvigorate the 27 and a half year clock starts again. I mean, country founded by real estate investors for real estate investors.
Right.
Everybody else is kind of hanging out. But
That's
any
awesome.
way you look, the entire tax code is designed to benefit this. So how many people do you know, because I know you know a lot of people in the real estate industry,
Yeah.
or new people trying to get involved, didn't buy a deal or quit because they had a water heater or a bad tenant?
All of them.
All of them. And do you think they considered the tax benefits? Do you think they considered that they're beating inflation?
No, I've been like, ever since we started doing this podcast, I've been telling people like, hey, maybe you're not looking at the other pillars.
Yeah.
Like-
And then that's for people who don't have a cash machine. And
yeah,
cool. Go flip and you should be flipping and wholesaling if you don't have the cash machine.
yeah. Well, I think I want to mention a plug for your course online for like somebody that's just listening to this podcast the first time. Maybe they saw the Trump, the big, bold, beautiful.
tech. I would love to be able to imitate him. I can't do it. Can you do it? I got a cousin who's like spot on.
So big.
So
It's big, it's bold, it's beautiful.
not bad.
I'm not that practiced on that. But they saw this, they started listening to the podcast today, and they made them know like that you have this course that breaks down like why these other like pillars of wealth really matter, and how actually like you're extracting a lot more value from the real estate, than a little cash flow.
And so that is in our free Facebook group, Get Wealthy on Main Street. Just type that into Facebook. That'll pop up. Check out my YouTube channel. I got videos and videos and videos of all this stuff. Or you could just get on a sales call with a member of our sales team. And I am going to start doing webinars here in the future. Schedule there. So plenty of ways to get a hold of us. Plenty of ways for you guys to get in the game and start having some fun.
Right on.
So that's what I got. So what is the landing page again that we got if they want to schedule a call?
www.jimmyvreeland.com/get started in real estate.
Boom. Well, you will get this podcast probably on Memorial Day or the day after. Hope you had a great Memorial Day. Talk to you guys later.
Nice. Like, share, subscribe if you got something out of this. Definitely make sure you share with somebody else if you got something out of this today.
And leave a comment about how fast I talked and how much fun you had. Talk to you later.